my name is Conrad on behalf of CameraStuff. Thank you for joining yet another episode of In the Limelight, where we jump into the local South African creative industry and we find some interesting and talented people to have a bit of a chat with. So tonight's topic will be that of, well, it's a hot topic, that of content creation, keeping yourself busy on social media, resonating with an audience, obviously building a brand for yourself, building revenue through content creation. So a lot to unpackage. And we are joined by Ibrahim, otherwise known as Ibbygrams. He is the owner of the Stan Media. Hello, welcome. How are you doing, man?
I'm well, thank you, Conrad. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a big pleasure, man. So how are you otherwise? What did you get busy with today?
I'm very well, thanks. Today was just a really busy day creating some content on behalf of Sony and Suzuki in the Tsitsikamma National Forest and on Blow-Grants Bridge. So it was just a super fun day, lots of driving, but I think we made some really great content today.
All right, so speaking of content, let me just share a screen here. So I'm just going to show people your Instagram feed just to give people a bit of a taste as to what you do. And obviously the link is provided in the comment section and description as well. So please do follow our guest, everybody out there watching in YouTube and Facebook land. And I've singled out a couple of videos, but we'll talk about them as we prod along. And obviously, if you are watching, if you have any questions to ask, please do pop them in the comment section and we'll tackle them one by one. But I think for the time being, if you are watching, by all means, introduce yourself in the comment section. Tell us where you're from. And obviously, if you have any comments, compliments, on top of that, any questions to ask, please do drop that in the comment section. So let me just get rid of this. So I have a bunch of questions to ask you, Ibrahim.
Fantastic.
All right. So starting off. So how do you balance your skills as a videographer and a photographer? And where do you see a bit of overlap between the two? So maybe as a starting point, what did you start off doing? Like, were you a photographer before or a videographer? Or was it a kind of chicken and egg situation where they both just started at the same time?
I started doing photography. I think that was my first love, my first passion, and I think to a certain extent it still is. I started with photography, and then clients that I would help with photography, I would do photography for, started asking me if I'm able to do video. So I started dipping my foot into that world and totally got engrossed, and now I do both.
All right. So in doing both, do you think in today's social landscape and creative landscape, is it required to do both? Can a person survive solely on photography or videography, or has it come to a time where you kind of have to put a foot on both sides?
I think someone can survive solely either just choosing video or photo. I think there's a lot of guys out there still doing it and doing it really, really well. Like we have people that just solely focus on photography. Somebody that comes to mind is Willie Botus. He's an automotive photographer and he just does photography and his work is incredible. He's still getting booked and he's got all the work in the world. And I think that if you really niche down and focus and hone your craft, there'll always be a place in the market for you.
So in saying that, I 100% agree with you. One can still survive solely just being a photographer or videographer either way. But in terms of keeping your social media page active and vibrant, with Instagram, Reels and TikToks and whatnot, even if you're just doing photography, is it useful to have like somebody else do the video content behind you and, fulfilling or filling your page with these videos as well?
100%. I think that video content is necessary for almost everybody, no matter what industry you're in, especially if you're trying to reach a new crowd or market for that matter. Having videos and short form content will really help get yourself noticed and to just show people, because I think people really love seeing behind the scenes and what goes into
Yes.
people's businesses and what they're creating, especially for photographers and videographers. I think people like seeing that process and seeing art come to life. And I think that's something that wasn't possible a lot, a few years back, and now it's really, really starting to boom.
Yeah, so I think with that, it's not just a case of behind the scenes, but it's telling a story. Is it telling a story behind the creative content itself? And that does resonate deeply with an audience as well, to show a person or the audience out there who you are as a personality. And that is something that coincides, can form part of your brand as well. So the idea of a person behind a brand as opposed to, a very non-personal approach to it. Like if you can attach a face and a story and all of the nitty-gritties associated with that to your entire entity online presence, that's a good way going forward, because you want that personal touch by having that video content where people can in a way be introduced to you as a creative person. That just goes with the flow in terms of building an online presence.
100%. I think like having those types of videos and creating that type of content makes you so much more relatable to your audience, and
Yeah.
has opened up so many more doors for you. It makes the person on the other side of the screen see you as a human being and not just a photographer.
Mm.
And that automatically just builds a connection.
So in terms of strategies in building an online presence across all of these different platforms, what did you discover? What works for you? And have you done different trials and errors? So personally speaking, I know people have their own strategies, but what works for you? And if you don't mind sharing any experiences that didn't work for you.
So I guess when I first started photography, I now reflecting back, I used to chase the trends. I used to chase those bokeh fairy light images, because that's what was trending, and I wanted to grow my page as quickly as possible. But that kind of lost its fulfillment over the years, and I think
Mm.
now I think people really appreciate me just putting out stuff that I'm proud to share. And that fluctuates from time to time, because sometimes um, I'll just post a random picture and I'll delete it a few days later because it's not up to par with the rest of my work. And I think for me personally, like I rather grow slow and steadily and grow an audience that can relate to my work, that appreciates my work to a certain extent, rather than just try and chase a trend and rapidly gain a bunch of followers that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. I think what people struggle with is the idea of persistently being busy on social media, which may work against you. Now, just posting for the sake of posting is something that may lose your target audience. So, this thing about balancing actual content and memes as well. Like people are trying to integrate funny videos or keeping up with CapCut trends as well. Yes and no. I think it depends on, who you are, the personality and the brand itself, but in trying to keep busy the whole time posting nonsense on top of nonsense in between the actual content itself, that is something that can work against you as well.
100%. I I think like trying to post like meme videos or just constantly posting CapCut templates might, I suppose it depends. For businesses especially, it works really well to like build your audience based off CapCut templates and meme videos, etc. But I think for artists, photographers and stuff like that, it's really important to also showcase your work in the best light possible. And I think like the best way to grow by doing that is just by being consistent. But that's such an
Mm.
incredibly difficult task to achieve. Just posting consistently every day or every second day and posting good quality content is something so difficult. So I feel like a lot of people just lean into the CapCut and into the meme videos because it's a lot easier, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that if that's your cup of tea, go for it. And you know it's a proven system that works for a lot of people.
100%. All right. So if you don't mind walking us through what gear you have. So it's a question that is popping up at Camera Stuff more and more over the last 2 or 3 years. People looking at hybrid technology that works for photography and videography at the same time. So here, obviously, we're talking about LEDs and whatnot. I mean, you can't use flashes when it comes to videos and stuff like that. So hybrid technology, LEDs that can work for both photography and videography. So what do you have? And what's in the kit bag?
So I think like for me, it's the Lightman 150D, the SL60W, and the SL100 Bi. Those are the three lights that go with me everywhere. And then literally right now I'm using the TL60 two tube kit and a reflector. I think that those are so versatile, so hybrid. You can use them for photography and videography. Like nowadays, like on studio shoots and stuff like that, I barely take out the 8200 and the other flashes. Like it's just constant lighting, so we're set up for video and photo.
Now, it's just an added convenience now that cameras are so advanced that they can tolerate low light as well. So this was a big debate not too many years ago, in fact, concerning cameras that can't tolerate low light, and so you need to boost your ISO to inappropriate levels where you get a lot of image noise and whatnot. So a flash was always highly recommended, but things have changed in recent times where you have modern cameras, you can boost for ISO, you can obviously open up the aperture and all of this fun stuff as well. But specifically around ISO, I mean, you have cameras that can almost shoot in total darkness now. So by having just an LED that can add a splash of light here and there, you can still get amazing results with it. Even with a bit of image grain, you can edit that out. So it's not beyond usable quality as was the case, I don't know, 5-10 years ago. But nowadays, there's the added convenience of better camera technology in both smartphones and in mirrorless and DSLR cameras.
100%. I think like the best piece of kit in terms of lighting that I've gotten over the past maybe 4 years was the TL60 tubes. Like they've been on so many different shoots. They've been out of the country. Like it literally never ever leaves my car, because whether you're on set, on studio, in the studio, or even on location, like just having that little bit of extra light can just help your image look so much better. It's like such a versatile piece of kit. We were shooting in a really, really dark warehouse, and we just chucked two of these TL60 tubes into the space, and it lit up the whole room, and we were able to capture images and videos in crisp quality.
All right, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, with advancing technology, it's better to exploit these things. All right, so I'm just gonna go into the chat box if you don't mind. So adrenaline were great. So just if any of these ring a bell to you, just wave hello. So
What's up,
adrenaline were
Eddie?
great. Patiently waiting. Medea saying heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji eyes. Conceited media, Ibby! Exclamation mark.
What's up, my G?
So from adrenaline were great. Ibby's webcam is so good. What camera is he using? So our first question: what camera are you using? Are you using the camera that you use normally professionally, or do you have a special webcam?
This is actually super cool. So Sony gave me the newest camera to use, the ZV-E10 Mark II. It's this little compact hybrid camera, APS-C sensor, but I've been testing it out, and this thing is absolutely crazy. Like it's just a USB-C cable into my laptop, and that's all it is to stream. It's
Oh
got
wow!
power supply connected, everything. Just that, choose the camera on my laptop, and good to go. Like it's such a phenomenal little camera. So I'm also still getting used to it and learning it a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm still using a good old-fashioned DSLR, but I need like a streaming module to plug in HDMI cable. So it's a bit of extra effort just to get that going. But it's so awesome that you can now just plug a USB into it, and now that's your webcam.
It really opens up so many doors. Like I was just thinking, like you could use this to stream weddings and stuff like that really, really easily, because it's one cable and that's all it takes, and you're up and running.
All right, so we have Andrew Basson. Yay, let's go. Thank you for joining, Andrew. Zuber. Ibby, loving the automotive shoots and videos. My favorite was the shoot you done for racing hard concepts of the white M3 through the streets of Joburg. So I'll try and find that, but as we
Thank you
go
so
along
much.
the comments,
Thank you so much.
also
Sibir.
behind the scenes stuff, a good thing. I think that's referring to, even if you're just doing photography, but the behind the scenes stuff, introducing yourself to the audience, in terms of what you do professionally, and adding a personality, a face to the brand, highly recommended.
100%.
So, conceited media, we touched on gear that you have, but for beginners, what would be a good starting point in terms of your first investment?
I think a good tripod and a 5-in-1 reflector. I think that those two pieces of kit will last you your entire career, if you treat them well and don't lose them, of course. I think like they're so overlooked because they're like considered cheaper purchases. But if you get a really good tripod and a 5-in-1 reflector, it'll save you so much of hassle for years down the line to come. I remember like starting out, I bought those cheap China Mall tripods, and I went through like three of them before I picked up something decent. And when I got my 5-in-1 reflector, I got it like I think a year or two after I started photography. I almost punched myself for not purchasing it sooner.
100%. Yeah, the reflector is such a underestimated piece of gear. And just to add a splash of light from one direction to utilize the available light that's there already, but just to improve the overall lighting quality and image quality and video quality. Very, very cheap piece of equipment, and it can just add so much more to what you're currently working with.
100%. 100%.
All right. So I think on that note, one of the videos I singled out from your channel is the one that you did with the 5-in-1 reflector. So I just want to pop that up. So maybe some questions related to the video itself, but I think also just to get the audience a bit more warmed up in terms of your content. So let me just pop that up.
Cheap camera gear you need to have. The 5-in-1 reflector. The 5-in-1 reflector is a simple yet effective tool that you can use to light your subjects. Let's start on the silver side. This will bounce and almost replicate your existing light. The black side can be used as negative fill or even used to block the spill of light. The gold side works exactly the same as the silver side, however it just intensifies the warmth of your existing light. The white side is pretty straightforward. It just bounces a much softer light onto your subject. And lastly, but definitely not the least, once you remove the cover, you get a scrim, and you can use this to diffuse your light source. These 5-in-1 reflectors are super affordable. I got mine at CameraStuff almost 4 years ago, and it's still such an important piece of kit I bring to me on almost every shoot. So you should definitely cop one if you haven't already. Pay cheap camera gear you need to.
All right. So question I have, how important is overall video quality and audio quality to you?
For me, audio quality matters a little bit more than video quality, because if your video is a little bit scruffy, you can get away with it. But if the audio is bad, there's no saving the video really for me. But I think it's really important to have good quality. But I think that the message that you send out in your videos matters a little bit more as well.
All right. So in terms of audio, what are you using?
I have the Godox wireless mic kits. I think it's the M2.
Mm?
The M2. I'm not sure the actual full name, but that's my microphone. And then I have the Rode Video Mic Go shotgun mic that I use sometimes.
Yeah, so this follows into another question that I wanted to ask. I think it matters to others more than others. Just in terms of getting quick and nasty content out there for the sake of having content. So often you have a person just walking around with a smartphone in hand, and they don't worry about image quality or audio quality. You know, the actual content itself matters, getting it out there. How do you balance that into your own online presence? Like, do you have scrappy videos mixed in just for the sake of, you know, keeping people up to date or behind the scenes? Like, how specific and anal are you around image quality the whole time? Like, do you also have a blend of quick and nasty videos on your profile?
This is a touchy subject for me, because I'd really love to put out constantly polished videos with perfect audio levels, perfect lighting, and stuff like that. But I think in today's social media age, it's really difficult to do that and still stay relevant. So I'm learning how to make peace with just whooping out my cell phone if I have something to say or a message to share. If there's a tip that I just want to quickly put out there and I don't want to have to wait 2 days to get that content out. I have tried filming some of those videos on my phone. They're on my page. I don't watch them again because I'm just like, I should have let this, I should have done this. But I think that
Mm,
that comes with just like learning to also let go, and sometimes learning that don't let perfection get in the way of good enough. And that's something
mm,
that I'm really trying to live by. And it's something that I preach a lot to a lot of people, but it's something that I find super difficult to live by. And I think on this trip this past week, I've really been trying to come to terms with the fact of it's okay, just get the content out there, and you'll make videos in the future that have the quality and the artistic flair that you wanted to have. But for now, let's just get content out there, let's get the message out there, and let's share something with your audience.
I think this is a very relevant topic because when chasing image quality and audio quality, one may just procrastinate and postpone and postpone and postpone, and nothing gets out there. And you have this, layers and layers on top of things, but still waiting in a pipeline. So, in terms of, I think you used a very good phrase there, just letting it go, just posting it and letting it go, and let the content just soak on your profile. It will gain its engagement, it will serve a purpose, but just in terms of waiting for perfection or creating perfection the whole time, you may just end up not producing anything in the meantime. So I want your opinion on that, and also confidence. So how does confidence play its role in content creation? Because I think people may be a little bit shaky in terms of being in front of the camera the whole time. Like, do you have that experience, or did you have that experience? And if so, how did you overcome those challenges?
I had no experience speaking to a camera. I think it just comes with time. You learn how to not look at the screen and look directly into the lens and speak, even if you're filming on your cell phone. I think it's something that you learn. It's a skill at the end of the day. And like all skills, they take time to learn, develop, and you find your own unique flair with it. Some people are naturally gifted and talented at it. I, unfortunately, am not one of those people. It's taken a while, but it's just a lot of like recording, talking to the camera, watching the video back, hating it, deleting it, and trying again. And eventually you find something that you somewhat like, so you share that. And when that gets engagement, it gets likes. Obviously, the dopamine increases in your body, so you do it again and again and again. And I think that's uh, a system that you have to build on. But I think that the best thing to do is just to start. It's easier said than done, but I think just starting and putting yourself out there. And once that first video is out there, it's like that's the worst one, and it can't really
Mm,
go backwards from there. It's only going to get better at the end of the day.
100%, yes. How do you, sorry, how rehearsed and scripted are your videos? So do you have like a sheet next to you where you look at, okay, this is what I need to say, or do you just press the record button and just talk, or is it a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. So I don't. Sometimes I try whenever I've tried to like write down a full script. I'm never able to stick to it. Never ever
Mm,
able to stick to it. So what I've done now is that I just write bullet points. For example, the 5-in-1 reflector, it's just white side, good at reflecting existing light softly. Uh,
mm.
the see-through side is a scrim, gold side intensifies warmth of light, and silver side reflects existing light. And then from there, as I speak, I'll just say what I need to say, and then when I get to editing, I'll figure out what
Oh,
makes.
somebody's frozen. Sorry, I think we lost you for the last 5 seconds there. So if you don't mind repeating.
Sorry. Sorry. My apologies. I said that I use bullet points
Mm,
to do my videos. So, for example, like with the 5-in-1 reflective video, I used the bullet points to say like the white side reflects existing light softly,
mm,
the see-through side can be used as a scrim, the gold side reflects warm light, and the silver side reflects the existing light in the room.
mm,
So I would speak on those points that I've written down, and then from there I cut it in post and make it fit my needs
mm.
as best as I can.
Yeah, I think people need to remember you have the magic of editing. So if you have a script next to you, like if you want to read it out word by word, it can just drive you insane if you miss a word or a sentence, or if you stumble over your own words. So what I normally do in my personal experience of this is just to say a sentence. If things go in a different direction, so be it. But if I'm happy with that segment, just cut it out. Right. So you don't need to go from start to finish with your entire presentation or whatever your video may be about. Yeah. So just segmentally, sentence by sentence, just say until you're happy with how it came out, pronunciation and all of these things. If you didn't stumble over your own words, yeah, with the power of editing, just cut and arrange these things in post production. And obviously, with that, you need to be mindful of consistency in terms of lighting and sound and whatnot. So there are editing tricks and tips around this as well. But in terms of creating a video, just remember the magic of editing. So you don't need to give this presentation from start to finish and feel annoyed if you miss a sentence or if you go off on a different tangent. Just go by it segmentally, and yeah, I said, in post production, just to cut and paste all of these things together.
Yeah, and I think that like I think when it comes to editing videos where you're actually speaking to the camera, it feels like a lot. Like especially when you're editing and you're trying to cut to the perfect beat and you're hearing the same sentence over and over again, and in your mind it
Mm.
starts to sound a little bit loopy, and you're like, should I be doing this? Should I be saying this? Just go with it. Just scroll past it, cut, and move along with your day. I promise you, you'll have so much less problems if you do that.
I eventually invested in a good pair of headphones as well, because at work I'm surrounded by a handful of people, and when doing video editing, you can just hear my voice over and over and over and over again, saying the same sentence over and over and over again. It drives people around me crazy. So just a pair of headphones just to keep people sane around you.
And it's even like the little things like the way you breathe or the way you just like
Yeah,
snap your lips.
everything is noticeable and it just drives you insane. But again, it's
100%.
a case of just letting the content out there, and incrementally you will uh, make improvements. Be a bit more mindful of your breathing and whatnot. But I think if you're chasing that perfection, and if one little thing annoys you, it's just gonna annoy you more and more exponentially. The more you listen to it, the more you look at it. So a case can be made here about just letting go and just calming down around these things and just posting the content. Over
100%.
time, yes, you will develop the skills to avoid these things, but in the meantime, just don't beat yourself up.
100%. Don't let perfection get in the way of good enough.
100%. Okay, let's see if we have any more comments here. Again, from Adrenaline the Great. What is your favorite kind of content to shoot personally? So I see a big mix in terms of your profile, but do you have any favorite subject matters?
Um, I I don't have something favorite in particular. Like if you look at my profile, it might look like I just love shooting cars, but I like it, but it's not my favorite. It's just really easy and they do well on social media. Um, I think I like shooting things that convey a message, an emotion, or feeling. So anything that can do that, that's my favorite thing to shoot. Um, and that's something that I want to push more towards. I think that that's where my heart lies in shooting narratives, telling stories, invoking emotion with my images, whether it be photo or video.
100%. Question from the same person, Adrenaline the Great. Thank you for participating. Appreciate it so much.
Shout out, Eddie.
How did your family feel when you decided on this career path? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or were you doing something else before this? So, how did you fall into content creation, photography, videography, etc.? Was it something that you did beforehand? Was it something that you studied for? Yeah, how did things transpire?
Um, I was just studying, and on my 21st birthday, my dad bought me a camera as a birthday gift. It was a Nikon
Wonderful.
D3200, and it was just something that I fell in love with off the bat, and it just went down a rabbit hole. It just went down a rabbit
Mm,
hole, and I think initially my parents were a little bit hesitant, but full support on all fronts. Like I couldn't have asked for a better support system, whether it was my family and friends. They always pushed me, supported me, shared my work, and it was just a really lovely experience. Like I couldn't have asked for it to turn out any better than it has.
wonderful. So, we're talking about past and present, but what about the future? What's in the pipeline? What's next for Ibbygrams and Distan Media in the next, I don't know, 2, 5, 10 years, maybe even 40 years? What's in the pipeline?
On a personal note, I am going to start trying to navigate myself into the world of documentary filmmaking. I think, like I just said before, I want to tell narratives, I want to tell stories. That's where I want to head out to. And in terms of Dastan was co-founded by my wife and myself, and we envisage this to be a all-in-one digital media service. And this is where we provide photography, videography, graphic design, web development, all of those good stuff. And we're trying to build an agency from the ground up. and keep the team really nice and tight and small, and have a unit that works really well together and really efficiently together. So I think we might expand our team a little bit, get a couple more photographers and videographers in, and just see where it goes from there. Like, there's no real concrete plan in at the moment for
Hmm.
Dastan. It's just like, thankfully, like, we're super packed with work. Couldn't ask for anything else from the company itself. But yeah, we're just trying to grow slowly and steadily, and we're not trying to compromise on the quality of our work while growing.
100%. On that note, how many people do you have as part of the Stan at the moment?
So currently, there's 3 full-time members, and we have about 4 part-time employees.
All right. So you want to tell us a bit more about the Stanley Media Agency? So how did that got going? And what, generally speaking, what are your services, and how do you reach out to people besides social media?
So Dastan started when my wife was studying digital marketing at Lysof. It's now called Stadio, and I was just a freelance photographer, doing a wedding here, helping some clients over here and there. And then we decided to put our brains together and, like, let's start a company where we can offer sorry, where we can offer media services to people. And
Mm-hmm.
that took off, and something that was supposed to be a couple days a week and weekends turned into a 24/7 job and a company that's grown beyond our wildest imaginations. And for us personally, on a personal level, we found that word of mouth has worked so much better for us than actually, like,
100%.
advertising on social media. It's like we've gotten continuous new clients, and having consistent clients just coming back just because of word of mouth, and it's just been insane. And I think that's because we really try to prioritize the quality of our work and the experience that we give our customers. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just, oh, I'm just here to take your photographs. At weddings, we're carrying baskets and helping the bride put on their clothes and running with the
Mm-hmm.
who's
Oh, yes.
get it to him. And it's just an experience, and we try to make art and memories for our clients in whatever it is that we shoot.
All right. Yeah, that's wonderful. So just to get back to content creation, how do you stay informed about the recent trends, and how mindful are you in turn trying to stay ahead of these trends or integrating these trends into your own content? Is it something that you're super mindful of, or do you just find your own little journey as far as your overall profile is concerned?
Um, I enjoy, like, scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, YouTube for inspiration and ideas, and, like, just seeing what the general industry is up to and seeing what people create, because you can get inspired by somebody. But I think it's also really important to not just let the constant scrolling contaminate your thoughts, your ideas, and
Mhm.
what you want to do with your content as well. I think it's important to do what you want to do at the end of the day, and not just have to do something that you're seeing while scrolling. So I do watch Instagram reels and TikToks tonight, just to know what's happening, so that I can then utilize that information for my clients, when I'm creating their content for them. But for myself personally, I try and leave that at the door and try and come up with my own ideas.
No, I think that is paramount in maintaining that genuineness and authenticity as well. If you try and follow the trends and copy what other people are doing and creating this mixed bag of content, people may not necessarily resonate with that. By keeping things authentic to yourself and your brand, not only will that build consistency over time, but you build a target audience with that as well. So it's one thing having a gazillion followers, but if you have a specific group of followers that are interested in what you do, that is a lot more valuable as opposed to having a mixed bag of different interests and things that may not be relevant to your work whatsoever. Yeah, so authenticity and genuineness, that is something that always should be maintained.
100%, I agree.
All right. So In terms of conceptualizing, be it photography or videography, what is the process like? So, how do you take an idea that's in here and how do you bring it to life?
So, if we have an idea, I say we because my wife handles more of the creative direction for a lot of our
Hmm.
other projects. If I have an idea, I speak to her about it, and then she gives me the moving parts. So she'll source models, locations, and all the nitty gritty in between stuff, and then from there I'll draft up a little short list, nothing too serious, and we take it from there. We've tried to like script videos to the TV before, and we get to shoot there, and everything is just upside down. Nothing makes sense. So we generally just go with a basic idea. We write down about it as much about it as we can. We get the moving parts together, and then we go and shoot. And while we're on set, we try and make things work. We try different ideas, and we use what's around us as inspiration. And we try not to keep things too hardline and too planned out, because
Mm.
we just sit in that boundary box and it doesn't give us room to be more creative, or have that freedom to explore other avenues while creating.
Yeah, on a day, one has to be adaptive and intuitive, work with the scene around you or things that may be happening around you. So all of these plans may just go off in an entirely different direction. So in terms of being super strict about how things need to happen, yes, that will carry you a long way. Obviously, one has to be super prepared. But just a bit of intuition and adaptability on a day will also just help you out in many scenarios as well. So in terms of being super strict and anal about these things, it may just work against you as well. We mentioned earlier about following a script, rehearsing things over and over again. Things may not happen as such on a day of the recording or the project itself. So this is where experience comes in handy as well. If you do these things over and over again, it will just help to build that second nature, that intuition around the what if scenarios that may transpire.
100%. I think it's like really important to have like the core idea of your concept down on paper,
Mm.
and the message that you want to tell in whatever it is that you're creating. I think once you have that down, everything else should be smooth sailing from there. What gear you use to create it, where you shoot it, with who you shoot it, it doesn't that's all second, and your idea and your concept is primary to me.
Besides the obvious, and by obvious I mean like camera, lighting, microphones, what other technologies and software do you think is important when it comes to content creation?
I think having so there's a website called Shot Deck, and Shot Deck basically grabs frames from different movies and breaks down the lighting and stuff from. I think that website is such a powerful tool to learn
Hmm.
lighting as a whole. And then we have something that I've discovered recently is CapCut. So I've started using CapCut here and there for my social media videos, and for me, it was very difficult to try and use CapCut because I've been a Premiere Pro user, and I feel like I need to have control of where I cut a video, how I fade things in and out.
Yeah,
Um,
like learning a new language.
100%. Even though it's meant to be simple, I found it more difficult. I couldn't wrap my brain around like, how do I just get something to just transition into the next video? And
Mm.
I always felt like the transitions available in CapCut were so gimmicky. But the caption generator on CapCut is absolutely incredible. Like it's mind blowing
It is.
that something that would take
Mm.
me about 45 minutes to do is done in 30 seconds, and there's barely ever any changes that need to be done to it. So I think like tools like that that's on your cell phone that allows you to make good content really efficiently is so incredible.
Mhm. All right. So, what specific learning resources did you use to develop your knowledge pool over time? Not only that, but as a kind of follow up question today, okay, well, in the past as well, what were your inspirations specifically? So, what inspired you and what resources did you use to learn all of these tricks when it comes to video and photos?
um I think like for photography and videography, like all the technical knowledge I learned on YouTube. Like I just
Yeah.
watched
University of YouTube.
in the university of YouTube, 100%. But I think my learning strategy was a little bit different. Is that if there was a subject or topic that I wanted to learn or understand, I watched up anywhere between 7 to 8 videos from
Mm.
different creators, just because everybody has different ways of explaining things, and some people add in a couple points, some people retract a couple points, and only after like watching 5 or 6 videos on a certain subject, like understanding composition or just the exposure triangle. That was the first YouTube video I watched on photography. I watched about 8 videos just on the exposure triangle, and that gave me such a thorough understanding, because YouTube is built for retention. So it's really, really difficult to find a video that takes you from start to finish. There's so many things that just pop up on the side that try to grab your attention, and how to do long exposure photography in the rain, and you get sidetracked trying to learn so many different things at once. So it's really hard to stay
Mhm.
in a linear progression. But I did everything on YouTube just by watching 8 to 9 videos just on a single subject. And I feel like that really, really helped me in terms of learning technical skill. In terms of just overall inspiration, it's all the, I guess, when photography really started taking off on YouTube back in like 2016, 2017, when it became really, really popular to be a photographer or videographer on YouTube. I guess I got inspired by all the same people that everybody else got inspired by. And then from there, I started going more into high fashion photographers and filmmakers like Tarantino. And I think that's where I take a lot of my inspiration today from filmmakers, from photographers long gone as well.
I think on topic, question from Amani here. How do you find passion for what you create? So not only in terms of finding the passion, but maintaining the passion and inspiration, and that go forward attitude. So if at any point, if you felt like you lost the passion or you didn't feel inspired, how did you regain that? How did you find inspiration again? So it's a kind of two-parter question here. So how did you find it, and how do you maintain it?
I think that it's a journey that goes up and down. It just spirals. Like some days you get back home from shooting the entire day, and now you have to edit entire projects through the night. I think those are times when your passion can be really, really low. And then there's times where you could be shooting a wedding, and the light just hits the bride perfectly from behind, and everything looks so crisp, and you remember why you fell in love with doing this. I think it's good to feed yourself creatively as well, to keep that fuel going, because you can get burnt out really easily just focusing on client work. And I think that taking time to do things that remind you why you started this, or why you love this craft is something that helps me keep going every day. So taking the time out to create things that I want to create, taking time out to watch things that inspire me, taking the time out to learn things that's going to help me make my craft better. Those are things that keep my passion moving. And I think having a good support structure as well, the
Mm-hmm.
people in your life that understand what it is you do, understand that
Yes.
creativity is not never ending well. It has
Mm-hmm.
rock as well, and people that understand and are willing to support you through it and remind you why you started it, and help motivate you to create better things and help you to create in general.
Yeah, being a creative person is a blessing and a curse both at the same time. Your mind is always active, but it can also just crash at the same time as well, where your brain just wants to switch off. And having that network, as what you said, not only in terms of just talking about things, which is incredibly just useful, just putting creative ideas on a table and just sharing ideas and thought processes, and what the results may be. Just creative people around a table, be it drinking a beer or a cup of tea, whatever it may be, just so helpful when it comes to just keeping the juices flowing, and also to maintain that passion as well. So people around you, bouncing ideas off them, just talking, and obviously the stresses and anxieties associated with being a creative person as well. Just useful just to drop that on a table and just communicating. Very, very useful to have just people around you. Sorry, my camera's going a bit haywire.
Not
I
a
think
problem. I
because my leg was bouncing a bit, the cable just came out a bit. Sorry, it's a bit
oh,
freezing here, so I have a bit of a shaky leg.
not a problem. I think it's really important to safeguard your mental health in the creative industry. I
Mm,
think it can become, because I I think it's something that it took me a really long time to realize and come to terms with, that I'm hitting burnout, and it's happened more
mm,
than once, unfortunately. But I think you have to get to that point to then understand how to mitigate it in the future. I think you have to push yourself a little bit to that point, and then you can learn how to mitigate it and not end up there again. And you just have to find a balance between work and passion, because there's things that you do because you just purely in love with the craft and you love making images, and there's things that you do because it's work at the end of the day. Even though you love taking photos, you love taking pictures, videos, sorry, it is still work at the end of the day, and you have to get those deliverables out. You have to find that balance and that fine line of just maintaining your balance for passion and work.
100%. I think you're on topic also from adrenaline. Thank you for all the questions, man. Even though you're in a highly competitive industry, do you find people in photography and film industry to be helpful and willing to offer advice, or the latter? So, what is your general feeling around people sharing advice or withholding advice?
um I haven't met anybody that's gate kept information before,
Mm,
in the industry. Like, I've met some of the guys that do, work in the hundreds of thousands of rands, and they're at the forefront willing to give advice. I've like, you meet so many people in this industry, and thankfully I haven't come across people that want to safeguard their secrets and not share
mm,
information or help you grow. And I think that when I started photography, there was a group of guys, specifically, the two guys, Matthew Kanaya and Keenan Constance. They had this little thing called We Explore Joburg, and they had Insta meets all over Joburg, and they would invite photographers to come over, and they knew what was happening with the camera. And for me, seeing them being so welcoming and willing to share information and tips, and trying to help me as a new photographer, like, learn how to even use a camera, was
mhm.
was something so warming that it's
Yes.
just always been that feeling for me in the industry. I haven't had any negative experiences, so to say, about people like not wanting to share information or help in any formal way.
Yeah, it's useful to find these connections and people who are willing to share knowledge as well, because it's a bit counterintuitive. Now, once you get into the industry, it feels like everybody is protecting their knowledge like a dragon hoarding for gold, right? But
100%.
once you find the right people, and it's most people actually within the industry, but I think we all understand as creative persons, like, we need to unload information. Like, keeping all of that information in your brain is just going to do you more harm. So even if you just talk about these things and helping people out, that's incredibly nurturing as well. So it's a kind of double whammy. Not only are you helping someone, but you're helping yourself in sharing that information as well. Yeah, so it's incredibly important, paramount within the creative field, that we do this, that we share information and bounce ideas off one another. And as I said, counterintuitive, many people are willing to do that.
Yeah, I think it's really important for, like, the photo and video industry to share their secrets and to share their expertise with everybody, especially, like, people just starting out. I think it's super important because there's enough work to go around for everybody, and by helping somebody level up their skill, and you know um bridging that skill gap between somebody that's a beginner and somebody that's higher up, and bringing them closer together, lifts our industry up as a
Yes.
whole. So there's not that discrepancy of somebody charging, a really high amount and somebody charging a low amount, and all the clients are just trying to, grab the guy that's charging the low amount, and, like, putting him under pressure and absolutely taking advantage of him. Because I'd prefer it if, like, it was a level playing field for everybody. And because there is enough work to go around, there's no shortage of work. The way I
Mm,
see it, I think that just by helping somebody else grow helps the industry as a whole grow.
mm. Yeah, it is marketing science 101. The healthier the industry is, the more demand there will be. So in terms of sharing knowledge and not gatekeeping anything whatsoever, we can think of one another as competition, quote unquote. And yes, ultimately down a pipeline, yes, it is a competitive industry, and obviously you want to work, and whenever you can get to work, the better, obviously, for your own brand, etc. But if the industry itself is healthy, if the love is spread and information and knowledge is out there for people to utilize and exploit, the more demand you create for it. So as you say, yes, there is a lot of work out there, and it's because the industry is getting healthier and healthier over the time. So I think this idea of safekeeping and guarding all of the information, that's just, and in a way, denigrating the industry itself and the less demand you create for it. So spread the love. It's helpful in more ways than one.
I think it's more important for people that have been in the industry longer to share information with people just joining the industry, entering the industry, so that they
Mm,
don't get taken advantage of, like they once were.
yep.
Um,
Mm,
and just to educate them of the ins and outs, like because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of companies that, I don't know if this is the right word or terminology to use, that would prey on new and upcoming photographers
yes.
and take advantage of their skill set. And I think that by empowering them, we're protecting them from that scenario essentially, and keeping our industry very, very
Mm.
safe.
Yeah, it's a very important point that you make. This mentorship thing, not only as a one-on-one thing, but a generational thing as well. Because obviously, we want to leave the industry and the next generation in better hands as to what we received, and obviously, they would leave it in better hands for us, the previous generation on top of us. So it's just this continuous thing where we are taking care of one another. Because once upon a time, you were in that position where we may have been, quote unquote, preyed on or taken advantage of, and obviously, you don't want that for the next person, especially any newcomer coming into the industry.
100%. 100.
All right, so we are 50 minutes in already. Can you believe it?
I can't. I
All right, so let me see if I skipped over any questions. Let me see here. From Conceited Media, how do you improve your workflow when editing content for clients as well as your own social media? Yeah, so just in terms of your editing workflow, do you want to give us a brief in and out of that?
I think, like, I always prioritize client work before my own. My stuff's
Mhm.
always on the back burner. So if there's a lot of client work to get through first, I'll try and get that done before I try edit any of my own personal projects. And then whenever I have a gap in between, I'll fit editing my content in there. So it's just always prioritize the clients first, because they've paid for a service, and
Yeah.
that's something that's important to them. So you have to deliver on that, and then I'll edit my projects. And then there's sometimes where, in the middle of editing a client project, just to take a break from that, especially if it's an intensive project, to take a break from editing that and to give my brain kind of a reset and to inspire myself again, I'll go to edit something fun. So I'll jump in between projects, just to keep myself going.
100%. Let's look at some comments here, shall we? So proud of how far you've come in your journey and can't wait to see where you go. I, without a doubt, know it's only up and somewhere amazing. Thank you for all the comments, guys. May you follow your passion and always be the best you can be.
Thanks, Mom.
Well, this was my last question, but also hear from the audience as well. If you could share one piece of advice to all creators, what would it be?
Educate yourself as much as you
Hmm.
can. Like, don't stop learning, and always just be curious, be inquisitive, and ask why. I think
Hmm.
that's a very important question to ask, is why or how, and just constantly be curious and want to learn how to do things better. Because if you're always questioning everything, you have that natural curiosity about yourself, and you always want to learn more and explore more, and that's just how you become better.
Wonderful. Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining tonight. It was a wonderful discussion. So we're
Thank you
gonna
so much.
cut things here at an hour's time. Yeah, so time flew, and we got through so much in terms of content creation and your personal work as well. thank you for this interview. It was very insightful, and I'm very certain everybody who watched tonight, I'm very happy with how things were answered, and also feel inspired. So thank you so much. I don't think. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you have any shout outs, maybe.
Um, I just like to thank firstly you guys for the interview. I really really appreciate it. It's surreal to do this with, like, I come in and pop in by you guys all the time, and you guys are always so helpful. So this is kind of like cool to do, And then I just like to thank my family for always being super supportive to me in everything that I do, and my friends as well. Just like the biggest shout out to them for always like pushing me forward and keeping my head up. And I think the biggest shout out would go to my wife and my best friend. Um, Without her, I don't think that I'd be where I am today, because she's just been one of the greatest driving factors to both my creativity, the company, and just life in general. And it's just super fun to be able to create a company and share a life with your best friend that also just loves
Mm.
creating art and making beautiful content.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so again, thank you for the wonderful interview. You were very, very good. You said you were nervous beforehand, but nothing to be nervous about. You were amazing tonight. Thank you for all
Thank
of
you
the
so much.
insights. So, to everybody watching out there in Facebook and YouTube land, the links are provided in the comment section and in the description as well. So, please do follow our guest. And yeah, let's help grow and spread the love within this industry. Yeah,
Awesome.
so sharing love, sharing knowledge. That's what we are about. So,
100%.
that's it on behalf of Camera Stuff. My name Conrad. Do subscribe, like, whatever. Do follow the channels in terms of future lives and interviews.